Yeah, so if you just introduce yourself and say what you do for
What now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Leon, and I'm in the Her Majesty's Forces.
And what experience of hate crime have you had?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to describe about 3 or 4 years ago. I was out socialising in a mixed group. One of our people's girlfriends was had Jordanian heritage, so she looked of Asian appearance. We were in a bar in town where she was approached on her own on the way to the ladies and spat at and sworn at and told that she shouldn't be with white men. She came back and spoke to us about it. We went over and there was a group of 3 or 4 Asian gentlemen, just being young lads really. We went away. This happened again, and it carried on outside. The lady took offence at being treated that badly, and one of them tried to attack her. So the guy she was with stepped in. We all got involved to stop everything. We were lured round a corner about 20 metres, where we were met by about between 15 and 20 waiting Asian males of different ages who set upon us and attacked us, which ended up with one of my friends having to be taken away in an ambulance. Okay. Called the police. I called the police personally, 999. 4 officers came within about 5 minutes around the corner. Young officers came to us for details. The main suspect, the protagonist, was very, very distinguishable by the clothes he was wearing and his description. He set himself apart from the rest. He was the one who instigated, and he assaulted the guy who went in the ambulance. Pointed him out to the police, who turned around and looked, and we said, "That's the guy you need to speak to." They shrugged their shoulders and claimed that CCTV would pick them up, while still trying to gather details from us. During the time, the Asian girl that was with us became frustrated. She then she was very vocal, and she expressed her displeasure using a couple of swear words, to which 2 of the police officers turned on her and told her that if she didn't stop swearing, she would be arrested. I get the impression, and I think mainstream media record it, other people's experiences, the perception that the police at the time were reticent to catch the protagonist, the instigator, purely and simply because he was of Asian appearance, and they didn't want to upset the community, but they would rather try and arrest which really was the victim of the crime in the first place. So it was a very, very displeasurable experience, which I would call purely and simply a hate crime.
So do you think the police were too afraid of being accused of being racist?
Absolutely. I mean, 4 of them bunched around us. We were going nowhere. We were offering the information to report the crime as it happened. Within 20 metres, if 1 or 2 of them would have wanted to walk across and speak to them, they could have easily done that. Even if it was just to ask him his details, they didn't even bother. They just shrugged their shoulders and claimed that CCTV would pick him up. And obviously, as it progressed, nobody was ever held responsible.
So they didn't?
Oh, no, they didn't. It appeared very, very clear that they did not wish to cause that kind of possibly that kind of image to the general public, and to try and arrest the victim was probably an easier way out for them. That's the impression I got. That's my experience.
So when you came around the corner and approached a larger group of these individuals, were they shouting anything or saying anything or making any threats?
Yeah, they made a circle around a couple of lads that went round the corner, and they were attacking, physically assaulting the boys. I was the last round. I had the phone. I backed off and called the police because I thought that's what you got to do. So one of them came to me and told me to give him my phone. I said no, so he went towards me. I backed him off, and that was the end of that. Luckily, then the police came and it de-escalated from there, but it didn't go away. An ambulance got called. My friend got taken away with facial injuries due to the actions of the individual that was allowed to freely walk off into the night and was never found again.
So what do you think the police need to do differently in future to prevent this sort of thing happening?
I don't blame the police. I blame a multitude of factors. The hands are tied behind their back. The individual officers are probably overtrained in I would call it compensation for ethnic minorities at the expense of other people. Okay, I do believe that they would have felt that they wouldn't have got backed up. I believe that they probably thought that the court system would have let them down. But the impression they gave is pure laziness, and the fact that they didn't want to get involved purely and simply because of the race of the suspects, and they were quite willing to throw warnings about arresting the victim of the crime, who at the end of the day was only singled out because she was with a group of white males.
So you think they're more afraid of getting accused of hate crime themselves rather than dealing with the victims of hate crime because they don't want to be seen as being racist towards a group of a certain ethnicity?
I would say I wouldn't like to say they'd be accused of hate crime because they'd just be doing their job. However, I do believe that they would potentially be criticised adversely for doing their job the way pretty much the evidence pointed that they should have done.
But nobody was ever prosecuted for what happened?
Nobody.
And how did the girl feel when that happened? Did she voice any?
Yeah, luckily we had to pick her up and remove her from the scene because those 4 brave officers were quite happy to place her in handcuffs, take her down the station and spend time processing her, but not the person that caused facial injuries to my friend.
So your friend that was attacked in that way,
Mhm.
facial injuries, what sort of injuries?
Just a few cuts and lacerations, but he dusted himself off. He's fine about it. He didn't want to push it any further. However, on that night, the person that caused those injuries could have been arrested with witness evidence, pointed out. He was very distinguished. He was wearing light-coloured clothes. The rest were dark. He was walking within 20 metres of our group, which stood with 4 police officers that didn't even bat an eyelid and didn't wish to challenge him. And I believe that is potentially because they fear the backlash of what could have happened.
Do you think that individual may have gone on again to commit more crimes in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a targeted attack. I think he saw his moment because the Asian female within a group of white males, because she was just with us. But this sort of thing probably happens every day. It was a weekend in the middle of town. I would imagine mixed groups go out all the time, and yeah, he was well up for it. Spitting at a defenceless female on her own, and then when he was challenged about it, got all his mates to get involved. I think this is where we're tipping the balance.
So what sort of improvements do you think the police could make in terms of, do you think it's educational training? Do you think there needs to be more of them around in certain areas on a night out, maybe to stop these sort of incidents occurring?
No, because they're under resourced. It is, and to be honest, on that day, 4 police officers turning up within 2 minutes is a record. You wouldn't get that on a Saturday night. We should have been lucky to have that response. However, to stand around trying to take everybody's names and addresses, to totally ignore the information that was being given to them, and I personally believe that it was for that reason alone. Had the roles have been reversed, I do believe that it would have gone a different way.